Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. And it's 2020, and it's just Marco here today. I know that it's been a little bit of a delay, and that is simply because there's been a lot of obstacles to uploading the top 10 Christmas movies video. We shot that video in 2019, and then there were there was a bunch of random crap, like when I upload something and I get phone calls, that will ruin the upload. And so I actually just found out you can press do not disturb, and that really helps out because there's been a couple of times in the past year where it's been like it uploads for 2 hours and then boom, the upload's gone. And then the weather's bad. There was one day where I tried to upload it, and it takes like 3.5 to 4 hours to upload a video like that. And so it got near the end, and then all of a sudden the weather, since it was bad, it made it so that the Wi-Fi got bad. It ruined the upload, and that happened like 5 or 6 times before finally, yesterday or the day before, the video upload. Saturday, the video uploaded, and so yeah. But anyways, our first couple this month is going to be all about ranking things, something that Sophie loves, and something that I love, and that actually something I used to want to do every month. It's obvious Sophie just isn't motivated enough to get these videos cranked out to do that kind of thing, though, and so I do them. I want to do them when I can, and this is one of those instances. Last year, I watched like over 30 to maybe 40 new movies that came out in 2019, but then I also watched about 50 movies that came out before 2019, and so we're going to do some videos talking about those because maybe we won't ever review them. Maybe we might review them someday, and I just want to mention that I watched them already, and maybe you guys are interested to know. So, to start off, here are some dishonorable mentions, because this is actually the top 10 worst movies I watched, old movies I watched in 2019. The first, okay, let's just go through this really quickly. The Gorgon. Ugh. Huge disappointment, but there was a lot of stuff I liked in it. I loved the redhead girl. I loved Peter Cushing. No, I didn't. See how bad this movie is? I'm misremembering things. I loved the concept. I loved some of the effects. I loved how spooky it was at some points. I loved how she gets her head chopped off. But the thing is I hate the fake snakes. I hate how they cast a different actress to play the actual Gorgon. It's just very disappointing, especially since a lot of Hammer fanboys claim that that movie is a masterpiece and one of the best. I just think it's a huge disappointment. I think that it's one of the movies that they should remake, and they should start over again. Next up, The Killing Fields. I watched this movie because Safi told me it was the most depressing movie of all time, and when people say stuff like that, I like to watch movies because it makes me curious enough to be like, oh, this movie really caused a reaction, whether good or bad, out of any person. And so I watched it. The first half was very manipulative. It was very fake, staged, dramatized. And then the second half was actually really good. It had some great horror elements to the second half, some very creepy things. But the movie overall is trash. It's probably one of the worst movies I've ever seen. It's very overrated. But I do think that the Cambodian guy, he did a fantastic job. I loved his performance, even in the first half of the movie when I was not a fan of what was going on. I really liked him. And also, I hated the soundtrack. Next up, Wall Street Money Never Sleeps. I watched this after I watched Wall Street with Safi, and I was very disappointed. I thought that Shia LaBeouf was terrible. I thought the story was stupid. I thought the script was stupid. I hated the stupid soap opera shit. It was basically like a giant soap opera revolved around Wall Street. And Michael Douglas, though, he did a fantastic job once again. And there were some really epic moments in this movie that that actually made me put it up a lot higher, because I really actually enjoyed some stuff in this movie and some ideas. I just think that they weren't well written or well executed. Next up, Black Sunday. This movie's trash. I didn't even finish it. I thought it was boring. I thought that the dubbing was bad. I thought that the only good thing about it was the scenery and the creepy, gothic, black and white nature of it. Other than that, this movie sucked. Black Sunday, ugh, don't check it out. Halloween 2018, I'll save all that shit for another video. Fuck that movie. But as a movie on its own, if you took out the Halloween part of it, it's actually okay. Like, it's just not good or not great. It's just okay. But then if you put in Halloween, it's trash. Next up, Sicario, Day of the Soldado. This movie sucks. Most of the movie they spoiled in the trailer. It's very boring. Nothing really happens. But then there's this last 30 minutes where it gets really good. And then the ending actually made me excited to see another one. And so that's why I put it this high. And then the next, the Oblong Box. Very, very boring. But at least it had some good elements. It's just, I don't know if I'll ever rewatch this movie again. It was very close to being in the bottom of this list, but that's how bad the bottom of this list is. Next up, Hereditary. Ugh! Oh, God, this movie is so overrated, so trash. It's not even a horror movie. It's more of like a family drama. There's really nothing horror to it. I don't like the ending at all. I think the ending sucks. It basically makes the whole movie worthless. I thought that the only thing good about this movie was the performances from the brother and then the mother. Other than that, I hate this movie. But I do think that the director has potential if he's given a good script that he didn't write. Because he kind of directs a little bit like Stanley Kubrick in the way that he has these very wide and static shots, these flat shots, and so I think that he would have been a better director for Dr. Sleep. Next up is Tusk. Oh, God. Oh God, I hate this movie so much. It was so boring. I was so excited back when this movie was announced, but then when it came out and it got bad reviews, I just steered clear, which is what I used to do. I used to just say, F it, I'm not going to waste my time or my money, but I found it on Netflix, so whatever. And it starts off actually pretty fine. It doesn't really... The movie's not really a horror movie to me. It gets really, really boring, though, because there's a certain point where it's just an hour or more of Justin Long, who does a good job with the shit he's given, and then this other guy, and it's basically just them for an hour and a half. And that stuff is so boring, I was starting to fall asleep multiple times. But then, there's another character played by Johnny Depp, who's, a lot of other people don't like him in the movie, but as soon as he came in, he shot the movie with steroids of awesomeness. His character was just so wacky, so funny, so interesting and odd, that I was actually really excited to continue watching the movie. I was considering turning it off. And then also, I think that the girls in the convenience store, I thought that they did a good job too, or the gas station. I loved them. One of them was Harley Quinn Smith. She was good. And then Johnny Depp's daughter, she was good. I really liked them. I thought that they were actually the best part of the movie. They were very funny, and they were very good together, kind of like a teenage version of the Olsen twins. If the Olsen twins never, a good version of those shitty, bratty, I don't even want to say any more of those teenage Olsen twins. But yeah, overall, very, very disappointing. I thought the girlfriend did an okay job, but oh yeah, the ending too. The ending is trash. They try to make it like a tragic Twilight Zone type of an ending, but it came off as a more of an FU ending because the rest of the movie was so bad, and this ending basically just said FU and said that all the rest of the movie was worthless. And I know I'm not even to the top 10 yet, but I have to talk about all this stuff that I see because I might not ever get to review certain movies. Okay, now my number 10 for 2019 old movies seen. The 10th worst movie, Rushmore. Rushmore, directed by Wes Anderson. This is my first Wes Anderson movie, and oh god, this movie did not get me off on the right track in 2019. I watched it. I started falling in love with this movie. I was like, where has this been all my life? And then, and it's so good. It's so funny. I love all the actors. I love the story. I love how it's so cool. It's such a different, unique movie, and the way that it's structured, and there's so much action. It's so fun, and just so adventurous and cool. But then it reaches a certain point where it started pissing me off, and where they changed the movie and they didn't take chances. There's a certain point, I'll just tell you right now, it's the point where he is in the teacher's bedroom and she rejects him and throws him out the window, and that's it. After that point, I hate this movie with a passion, with a burning fire, flames, passion. Flames! Flames! You know, like in Clue. That's how much I hate this last 30 minutes of this movie. Basically, they say, fuck you, we're not going to take the chances that another movie would take. We're going to make this a Disney shit kids movie because since it was considered a Disney movie, they could not have certain things happen. Listen, I understand that the kid should not have ended up with the teacher. But here's the thing, it's a movie! It's a fucking movie! What are movies made for if you're not gonna do stuff that you can do that you can't do in real life? I mean, I watched another great movie this year, a masterpiece, Lolita. They could have done the same thing. They could have done something different. And it felt like the whole movie was for nothing too. It felt like all this adventure, all of this effort put into this. And no, since this is a Disney movie, he can't get with the teacher, and we can't make this movie get any more, because it felt like they kept pushing the limit. They started off at one point, and they just kept pushing things and pushing things and pushing things. And finally, boom, you get punched to the bottom of the mountain, and you're not allowed to push things to their very limits. And so that's what ruins this movie. And then he gets with some random Asian girl from the new school, or the old school, whatever. And there's this stupid effing plot about a stupid play, where there has to be a play at the end of the movie, and there's fireworks, and you think that he's gonna blow up the school, but of course you can't do that in a Disney movie. He's gotta use the fireworks for the play. And, oh, God. And then he dances with the teacher at the end of the movie, and it's like, oh, just friends, just friends. God. Don't even get me started. And that's what's so irritating, is that the first 3/4 of this movie is classic. It's iconic, I would even say. And then that last fourth just destroys it. Next up, number 9 is Teen Titans Go to the Movies. This movie isn't as bad as I'm making it out to be. It's just that it's so babyish and so kiddish. There's a bunch of jokes about them, these Teen Titan characters going to the bathroom on the fake set, and there's a bunch of bad jokes, and just very babyish movie. I don't know what respected adult would go to the theater to see this shit. It's so bad. It's not a movie for me. It's not a movie for a kid. This is a movie for a baby that's still in diapers. That's how babyish and stupid and lazy this movie is. There's only one good part, and that's the part where they go to basically make all the famous superheroes' origins never happen. I thought that part was really creative and cool, and I also thought it was cool how they got Nick Cage to play Superman finally, since he was supposed to play him before. But overall, F this movie. I hate it. I never want to watch it again. I never want to think about it again. If I could destroy every copy of this movie, I would. Number 8 is Creed 2. I already talked about this. You're going to see a couple of repeats from 2019 movies ranked best to worst. But Creed 2, just a shame. A shame on the Rocky series. The first Creed I kind of liked. I do think that Creed is really overrated and just kind of boring and not very good compared to all the other Rocky movies, except for Rocky 5, of course. But the second one is even worse. They try to have this really this bad comedy sprinkled throughout by someone who's not very good at writing comedy. It comes off as very Hallmark movie-ish. The music is terrible. Probably some of the worst music I've ever heard. They do a rap version of the Rocky theme song, Gonna Fly Now, just because the main character is black. I don't know why they would do that. That was a shame. That was a huge disrespect on the Rocky franchise. The directing was poor. Sly Stallone quit directing this movie for who knows what reason, and that really killed it. There was a deleted scene where Rocky was supposed to fight Drago, and they didn't show that in the movie because F you to the fans. That's not what we're going to show. We're going to show this new characters, because who cares about the old ones? Except the old ones are the only people interesting in this movie. Creed himself sucks. I hate Creed. I don't give an F about Creed in this movie. The girlfriend, I didn't like her in the first movie. I certainly don't like her in this movie. The mom, she's pretty good. I like her. She's fine. She's Hallmark movie-ish. But then you get to Rocky himself and then Drago. They're the best in the movie. And then also Drago's son, he's really good. And so this is probably the only Rocky movie in history where the villains are more interesting and more sympathetic than the hero. And that really just is trash. And actually, I'd just like to see a movie starring them, starring Drago and his son, because I really enjoyed watching them, and I felt really bad for them at the end of the movie, and it just, but everything, the movie's trash. I would never watch it again, never even consider watching it again. And it's better than Rocky 5, but that's not saying much. The number 7, Idiocracy. Ugh, God. This is not a movie. This is not a movie. It's just a series of stand-up jokes. It's a series of comedy sets. It's not a real movie. It's trash. The first 20 minutes are kind of funny in some parts. I was recommended this movie by my old history teacher, and I finally watched it since it came on Hulu. Luke Wilson does a good job at the beginning, but then he gets trash. Maya Rudolph is in this movie. She's trash. And then there's another guy who's in this movie. He's trash. But this movie, it's not funny. The plot goes nowhere, basically. There's a lot of potential, but the plot does not go anywhere. The sets for this movie looks terrible. The sets they look really fake and bad. It's bad, and it's very disappointing, but there was one very funny sequence with Justin Long where he played this doctor and he was diagnosing Luke Wilson. I thought that was hilarious, but yeah, this movie was just awful. And the ending too, horrible. And just, oh god, I don't even want to think about it anymore. Number 6 is Subspecies. This movie was such a disappointment. Once again, after some fanboys hyped it up for the Full Moon Pictures, this movie, I thought it would be a classic. I thought it would be an easy, just classic movie, but it was trash. It was 1980s Twilight fan fiction shit. The opening scene was incredible and cool and fun and creepy. The rest of the movie sucked. There were a couple little hidden gems in this movie though, such as the main actor Anders Hove. He played Radu, the main villain, and he did a phenomenal job. I thought that if he was in a better script, he could be up there with Christopher Lee and Bela Lugosi. That's how good of a vampire he is. And then also, I looked up her name just for this video. That's how much I liked her in this movie. I really liked Irina Movilla. She played Mara, the blonde friend, the cute one who isn't bedridden like the other blonde one. She did a great job. I thought that she was a very interesting character. I loved how she was Romanian, I believe, and how she really fit into this movie and fit into this kind of vampire world. I was very sad that they sort of wasted her. They took her, changed her off screen, and then they have her in this outfit so that you can see her boobs, because that's all that she's worth to the filmmakers of this movie, is to see her boobs. And then she is a vampire and she gets killed. And then at the end of this movie, the ending is Twilight level. It's just Twilight but bad, and it's stupid, it's dumb, and it's just, ugh. And it's so weird too, because I don't think I mentioned this, but the main girl, she's perfectly okay with being turned into a vampire herself so that she can be with the Twilight weirdo guy. But then she forces the guy to kill her friend, to kill Mara, to kill her, even though she's a vampire and she's her friend. But it's just, it makes no sense. But the plot overall was really good. There were no good kills. That's another thing. I was expecting to see at least one really bloody good kill, but there wasn't. Next up, number 5, Ghoulies 4. This movie, oh, it's not even a movie. It's very, very amateurish. It spits all over the Ghoulies series, but it also like tries to connect to the Ghoulies series finally, and the main character, all people are sleepwalking through the movie. The Ghoulies themselves are just midgets dressed up in costumes, voiced over by them, and and you can't even understand what they're saying. And so that was another embarrassing thing. They're the Ghoulies characters, these characters that you're supposed to go on an adventure with, yet you can't understand a word they say. They make unfunny jokes. They make a bunch of stupid pop culture references that no one cares about. And just, yeah, the villain, she's trash. The actress said she's embarrassed to be in the movie. I'm embarrassed for her because this movie is trash and it's horrible. It's the worst of the series. There's a scene where there's a used condom that's thrown into the main person's vehicle, and if that doesn't turn you off of seeing this movie, I don't know what will. Number 4, oh, Ant-Man and the Wasp. MCU movies in general are already really generic, formulaic, and just not good in general. A lot of them just feel like they're filler, like they're Walking Dead episodes with a high budget. This movie is a glorified romantic comedy. I didn't even finish it. They changed the race and and the gender, I think, of the villain Ghost. She's not even a villain. She's revealed to be kind of like an anti-hero, so there's no real villains in this movie. Ant-Man himself is derpy and just a goofball, but that's a strength of this movie, is that he's really funny. I thought that there were some really funny jokes, but that has nothing to do with the movie. That's not Ant-Man. Ant-Man is supposed to be serious. The only reason they made him funny is because it's in the MCU, and they think that no one will watch it if he's not funny, is Ant-Man. And Michael Douglas is bad. I didn't even get to see Michelle Pfeiffer, but who knows what she was on when she was in this movie, how good she was, whatever. Lewis was trash. I hate this movie. This movie is one of the worst MCU movies, if not the worst MCU movie I have ever seen. It feels like it shouldn't have existed, and after seeing Endgame, with how they brought Ant-Man back, it further proves that this movie should not exist, because the way that he comes back, spoiler alert, a fucking mouse or a rat crawls onto a button and transports him to the modern day, and it transports him into real life, and he's there. A rat! So this whole movie led up to a rat saving him from the problems he's in that at the end of this movie. And the first one was already kind of mediocre, but the second one, it's just, the only good things I'll say about it is at least the Wasp, at least she looked hot in this movie. I think that she's probably the best out of all the MCU actresses, but that's not saying much, and like, I really don't want to have to say that, because like, I feel like stuff like that I should just keep to myself, but since this movie is so poor and so horrible and garbage, saying how attractive she is really the only good thing I can say about this movie. Number 3 now, we're at Unsane. I watched this movie simply because it was shot on an iPhone, and it was like a bad student film. It was very pretentious. It had a stupid twist that was very predictable and isn't even worth mentioning. The main actress, she does an okay job, but this movie really fails at being anything other than an experiment that you can just throw away at the drop of a hat. The music was very melodramatic and ineffective. Yeah, I don't like this movie. I'm not a fan. I'll never watch it again. And I would much rather watch Ant-Man 2 or Ghoulies 4 or Subspecies than ever watch this movie ever again. Sorry, everybody, that was embarrassing. Number 2 is Christopher Robin. I was never a big fan of Winnie the Pooh as a kid. I'll just say that right off the bat. But I never really watched Winnie the Pooh because I thought it was babyish, and I was above that. I would watch Universal Monsters. I would watch Beauty and the Beast, The Lion King. I never wanted to watch stupid Winnie the Pooh.